Another day, another DADU. We're here in Northwest Seattle, the Greenwood neighborhood, in fact, where three clients of mine just took down a very cool DADU project. This is a real life build that's already in progress, so I'm going to walk you through how much they're spending, how much they plan to make when they flip this property, and how they're doing it all. So let's jump in. First off, let's talk about the property. You can see it is a one-story, pretty modest looking home. It's in good shape generally. Here's the garage. Here's the backyard where they plan to put the DADU. So there's not a lot of value add here in the main home. It needs a little bit of paint here and there. It's not freshly remodeled or flipped, but for the most part, they're buying this to get access to the yard, not because they plan to make money on the single family home here. Let's jump over to the yard and talk about what they're planning on building. This garage here is a newly constructed garage. It's in great shape. It's got EV charging. It's painted. It's gorgeous. So they want to avoid taking down this garage if they can because it does add value to the property, probably $20,000 or so of value. And taking it down to build a DADU would both increase their construction costs by having the extra demo and decrease the value of the parcel at the end of the day because it no longer has that detached garage. So you can see here, there's a bit of space here alongside the garage, along this fence line. It is a, I believe, 45 or 50 foot wide lot. So there's a bit of space here between the house and a bit of space on the side. But most big wide DADUs, especially ones with attached garages, wouldn't fit here. So what they're planning on doing is building a schooner. That's a pre-approved plan here in Seattle. It's 1,000 square feet, 2-bed, 2-bath model. It's one of the only pre-approved plan that actually gets close to that 1,000 square foot maximum, which is really great because for the most part, as investors, we're building these up to the maximum size to sell them for the maximum value. The schooner is a unique model though because it is actually only 16 feet wide. So it's very narrow. It can fit into really tight spaces like this property alongside the garage. So the schooner is what they're going with here. I'll show you a couple of pictures. It looks like the kind of house that your 5-year-old son would draw if you asked him to draw a house. But the layout works well for either a young couple with an office or a family since there are 2 bedrooms. And it looks generally pretty attractive, especially if you do a couple of upgrades to things like windows and siding. They're going to orient it here differently than this picture. They're going to orient it long ways here so that the narrow side of the schooner is slotting in alongside the garage and the long side is stretching out towards the single family home. So let's break down the numbers on this project. Here's our spreadsheet. If you need access to this, you'll see a link in the YouTube video description. But for this type of project, it is a lot faster than your typical DADU build. One value of that pre-approved plan is that you can get your permits in as little as a month, which allows you to both start building the DADU faster, and if the single family home that you're purchasing does not require much rehab, it allows you to sell the single family home much faster because you are able to sell the single family as soon as you have the condo status for the single family. And to get the condo status, you just need a approved permit and to work through the paperwork. So the permit is really the bottleneck here in your build process. So the single family hold time is going to be about 5 months on this project. The DADU hold time is going to be about 7 months on this project. So all in, they'll be in and out in 7 to 9 months, kind of worst case scenario. They're purchasing with hard money, 25% down on the single family home, and then hard money, actually 0% down on the DADU build. So Israel Lopez at Certain Lending is the lender on this one. They've got a lot of unique products to both build the single family home or renovate the single family home and build the DADU and sell both of them separately, doing a partial lien release, which means that you can sell part of your project and not have to refinance your loan, which is a really great benefit of hard money that most conventional loans do not have. So let's look through this project. The purchase price was $702,000. Pretty common here in Seattle for us to be between like the $650 and the $850, $900 range for these projects, depending on where they're located. This one, the existing single family was relatively small, which is how we got in at a $702 purchase price. The carrying costs for this project for the single family are going to be $32,000. That's because their hard money loan, if we open up the assumptions panel here, if it'll let me. There we go. Their hard money loan is at 11.38% interest and 1.5% loan points. So their holding cost here on this is going to be $32,000. That's the interest times the 5-month hold time. Their renovation budget on the single family is actually essentially zero. They are doing a couple of things on it. It is likely that they end up spending something like $7,500 at the end of the day, but for the most part, the single family is staying as it is. Most of the value here is coming from the DADU. They're doing 100% financed, so no money down, hard money. The build is with David Weiser at Backyard ADU, a builder that we've worked with in the past and really love. The schooner, including landscaping and all permits and taxes, is going to come out to $355. That's an all-in hard cost, soft cost taxes price, so that is 100% the total that they're going to pay here. The carrying costs on that is going to be about $13,000, so that's the loan cost. The last cost for the DADU is just going to be the condoization cost. You can get it done cheaper than $12,000, but we really like Katie Dakinay, or Katie Sweeney, I believe is her maiden name, at Dimension Law Group. She's not the cheapest option, but she's called the condo queen for a reason. She does a lot of these and really does a great job at getting them done quickly and correctly. So that's that $12,000 condoization cost. All in here, then, we're looking at $742,000 for the single family and $367,000 for the DADU. So now let's talk about what these properties are worth when they're done in that 7-month, after that 7-month period. The single family we're estimating will be worth about $630,000. And the reason that is so low is because on these projects, typically the single family home loses about 10% of its value through losing its yard and the condoization process. So you see a lot of videos, especially on YouTube and Instagram, where people are building these projects. And the tagline tends to be, oh, I spent $350 on this DADU. It's worth $700,000 when I'm done. I'm making $350,000 on this project. That is not the case. That's never the case. You're losing value on the single family home, and you actually are unless you're paying for these projects in all cash, which most people don't do. You also have a lot of holding costs to your loan. On this project, you have almost $50,000 of holding costs, and you're decreasing the value of the front house by $70,000. So that's $120,000 that we have to account for running real numbers. Let's jump over then to where the profit is. This is the DADU slot here. The estimated market value when they're all done is $710,000. So the build cost is $367,000, all in including holding costs. The value is $710,000. This is why these projects work. Even though you're losing money on the single family, you're losing money on holding costs. The profit margins on the DADU are so large that you can both pay back all of those losses and turn a tidy profit by selling both of these separately through the condoization process. If you have any questions about how that works, feel free to reach out to me. I've listed a lot of these, and although it can be confusing the first time, it is becoming more common here in Seattle, so more and more buyers are starting to understand exactly what these condoized DADUs and single families represent. So let's talk about the return on investment. All in, this project, after they're done, is going to be worth $630,000 for the single family, $710,000 for the DADU. That's $1.34 million after all is said and done. Their total costs on this are $1.11 million. So their project equity created is going to be $229,500. If they were to just hold this property and refinance it, not sell it, they would have $230,000 of equity created, about 17%, which is great. They are planning on flipping this property, which is a great way to turn a profit on these projects. It does cost money to sell a home, both because of closing costs. Here in Seattle and Washington State, we have excise tax charged on the sale of the home, whether you make money or not. There's a 1.68 typically percent tax on the total value of the home when you transfer it. And then, of course, real estate fees for us, usually those end up being 7 to 8%, all in, including all three of those fees going to closing costs, realtors, and taxes. So that, after taking into account those 7% sale costs, their flip profit is $135,000. If we were to annualize their cash-on-cash return, looking at the $221,000 that they put into this project of their own cash, that would be a 61% return on their cash yearly. That's typically a good project here in Seattle, anything around 50% or more cash on cash return, I see as a very good project. There aren't a lot of other avenues, even though it isn't passive, even though it does take a little bit of work, there aren't a lot of other avenues where you can make 50% on your money. Essentially doing, 2 years of these projects will double your initial investment. So that's the project. If you have any questions about how these numbers pan out, or if you want to see the final numbers when we actually sell this project come February, feel free to reach out to me in the comments. I'll update all you guys as things move along.